One of the comments I frequently have with my friends is over the role of experts. Should we listen to experts or should the people make decisions for themselves? Welcome to Into the Desert, exploring the wilderness of ideas. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want to support our channel and our mission of encouraging discussion and not division, please join us on Patreon. The link is in the description. So a constant debate among my friends is, should we listen to experts? I mean, aren't they expert in the field? Don't they really know what they're doing? And what do we do when we disagree with the experts? Is that okay, or are we following some sort of conspiracy theory? So what's your thoughts on this, Larissa?
If you look at like the Catholic Church, we are, so to speak, run by the experts. The Catholic Church is not a democracy. So we just elected a new pope, and it was done by the cardinals and bishops, the experts of the church, the people who have dedicated their life to following the life and teachings of Jesus. And so we pray for them to really follow the will of God, but they're human beings and they have free will to do what they want. And when they exercise that free will over the will of God, we get popes that aren't necessarily the best. And I think that's kind of where people get a bad taste in their mouth when they think of the Catholic Church. And so when it comes to more social issues and like the president, we have experts and they're great, but they're also human beings. So they don't have omniscient knowledge. They are flawed by their limited view of this world and their limited experiences, and they can only do so much. So I think it's really important to listen to experts, but I think it's also important to listen to a large group of experts, which is where I think the people can have a say, because we all have our own experiences and we all have our own thoughts and opinions, and we're all experts in our own way. So I think that's where our republic has been a great institution, that we get to elect people that can think like us and know what we would like to have done, but then can also listen to other experts and other opinions and come up with what should be the common good.
Yeah, I think that's the big part about experts is experts are experts in their expertise. So, for example, classic example is Fauci. Fauci was an expert on communicable diseases. However, experts don't necessarily know anything beyond their expertise. And thus, Fauci may have been an expert on communicable diseases, but he wasn't an expert on the economic impacts of shutdowns or the learning impacts on education. And so, the people that actually have the most expertise in the community are the politicians. And those are experts because they are controlled, supposedly at least, by the people. And this is where the real problem with experts come in, is because who actually gets to rule the society? If we just follow the experts, then we're not in control any longer. The people no longer have control of their government because the experts are just telling them what to do based on their expertise. But again, they don't know anything else. Thus, we saw with the shutdowns huge economic costs and huge learning deficits. I mean, we really did a disservice to a lot of children, keeping them out of school, especially since they were at such low risk from COVID. We may have, maybe not, depends on how you look at the data. We may have saved some lives, but ultimately the cost was the human cost of social problems due to economic shutdowns, learning problems due to loss of time in school. So experts know things, but they don't know everything.
Yeah. And problems are also a lot more complicated than an expert has the ability to analyze. I do ski patrol in the wintertime, and our patrol has an issue of being hit by other skiers. And this past year was extremely high number of our patrollers getting hit. So they're looking at what are the experts saying about reflective clothing and being more visible. And so we're getting new uniforms. The problem is the entire patrol didn't really want new uniforms because, one, the experts are talking about like highway patrol and construction workers, and not necessarily you're on a ski hill at night with people who don't necessarily know how to ski. I don't necessarily think our patrollers were being hit because they weren't seen. I think they were being hit because people were skiing out of control. And so being more visible isn't necessarily going to solve the problem.
Yeah, there's also what's called the Dole effect or the GE effect. When you make a change, the change is noticeable. And they came out of studies where they would change the lighting in factories to see if they could increase productivity. And they did, but then they began to notice no matter what they changed, whether they raised the light up or lowered it, it always increased productivity, but only for a short time. And then they noticed what was happening is people were noticing the difference and figuring they're being watched and therefore they were being more productive. But as soon as they got used to the new setting, nothing actually changed. And you see this with lights on cars. They keep adding lights because they do a study and look, people notice the new light that they never saw before. But eventually we get used to them. Or out here, we got these school buses with these flashing lights that really annoyed me when I first moved here to Wisconsin. And you know what? I ignore them now because I learned to not see them. And this is the problem with experts is they do a study, but they don't actually understand the whole concept of what they're looking at. They look for a result, they get a result, and they assume that's the truth.
And it's like when you go to buy a car, you never see your car, and then suddenly you bought it, and now it's
Yep.
everywhere.
Yeah. We notice change. So tell us what you think. Do you agree with the experts? Do you think people should have the ultimate say? Do you agree it's some sort of mixture between them? And how do we make that decision? Tell us in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.